Trump has finally made America great again, and it happened on Monday at a meeting with the head of NATO. The US president has finally realized that he is the leader of a superpower and that backward dictators need to be talked to from a position of strength. Love with Putin has passed, the tomatoes have wilted.
I often talk to him about finally doing something. And every time I hang up, I think, that was a nice phone conversation, and then missiles are flying towards Kyiv or another city. I say to myself, it's strange, and when this happens 3 or 4 times in a row, you understand, talking means nothing.
Trump fired a double shot in the face, giving Moscow a real ultimatum. If the Kremlin does not make peace within 50 days, the United States will turn its economy into mincemeat. Donald I promises to introduce 100% trade tariffs on both Russia and those who trade with it. 100% sounds much more realistic than the Senate's 500.
And we want this to end. I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we agreed 2 months ago, but it looks like it never happened. Based on that, we will impose secondary tariffs if an agreement is not reached in 50 days. It's very simple, and they will be at 100%.
In parallel with the ultimatum, Trump actually launched a new land list for Ukraine. And if you believe what is being announced, Biden is nervously smoking on the sidelines. For starters, Trump promised to deliver 17 Patriot systems to Kyiv. Not 10 missiles, not even 17 launchers, but 17 batteries. These are Patriots. That's it, batteries in full configuration. We have one country that has 17 Patriots ready to ship. They don't need them. So we made a deal for 17 or most of them.
In the swamps, everyone immediately washed themselves with a cold sweat. The greatness shrank right in the propaganda studios.
This is the Patriot battery, which includes 4-7-8 launchers, a transport loading vehicle and a radar detection. Now it is believed, according to operational data, 6 complexes are in operation, 2 are in reserve, that is, in reserve. Accordingly, they are there for repairs and partial modernization. This is the point. The supply of 17 complexes is a large volume. This increases the volumes by about 2-3 times. In addition to air defense, offensive weapons are also being considered. According to CNN, the United States may supply Ukraine with short-range missiles. We are talking about JAS cruise missiles, which, depending on the modification, fly from 370 to 1,000 km. Hello, not only Moscow, but also the Urals. There are thousands of these missiles in American warehouses, and they are relatively inexpensive. That's why the Zetniks immediately became despondent and began to prepare the bast-footed population for a new unpleasant reality. Quote, as sad as it may sound, but most likely, war will come to every home. They say that Trump is even considering the option of handing over the tomahawks, and this is already. Hello, Cheetah. Hello, Yuland, Cheetah, Yasnogorsk, Okinsk, Kusachi.
Trump is really tired of Putin. He really wanted to be friends and trade with him, was even ready to recognize Crimea, and in response he consistently received spitting on the back and endless crazy lies. All this gradually transformed Trump the businessman into Trump the leader of the free world. At least, that's what it looks like now. The
fight, the last fight of this world. I come home and tell the First Lady, today I spoke with Vladimir. We had a great conversation. She replies, it's true, another city just suffered. When your own wife is trolling you, there is something to think about. Quote, there is an opinion that the revolution in Trump's worldview occurred after the last conversation with Putin, when the bunker conqueror said that he plans to continue the war and wants to completely capture the Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk and Luhansk regions in 2 months. What? Exactly at that moment Trump realized was that he was talking to a deeply inadequate person who either suffers from a severe form of schizophrenia or is completely deprived of access to objective information. Advancing millimeter by millimeter and suffering record-breaking gigantic losses, the Russian army in 2 months will sooner turn around and capture the Kremlin than 4 regions of Ukraine. Mobilized, you can count on your fingers how many have killed everyone. Look, my friend died in the last assault. But you don't even want to stop it. Is this convenient for you? Why aren't your children fighting here? Well, why haven't I seen a single child deputy here? When will you, a creature over 70 years old, the so-called president, end all this? The American administration realized that it is impossible to come to an agreement with the Russian Führer. He can only be forced. And knowing how much Trump wants to end this war and win the Nobel Peace Prize, they will solve the problem as quickly as possible. When you are dealing with a tyrant like Putin and trying to get him to sit at the negotiating table, you have to pin him to the ground and strangle him. And the way to pin President Putin to the ground and cut off his oxygen supply is to cut off his cash flow. They need to be made to feel pain. In addition to missile weapons, Ukraine can receive howitzers, shells, and aircraft weapons in commercial quantities. Why is this realistic? Yes, because it is profitable for America. Trump has ensured that the United States will sell all these weapons, and not transfer them for free. NATO and Europe will pay for the supplies. The European Union is paying for it. We will not spend anything. We will send, and it will be a business for us. It is profitable for everyone, except for the people of the God-bearing people. U.S. Permanent Representative to the Principality Matthew Whitaker said that the new Lend-Lease will not only help Ukraine on the battlefield, but will also boost the American economy. Thanks to the increase in weapons production in the United States, new jobs will be created, which was one of Trump's main election promises. The military industry is also expanding on the European continent. On Bastille Day, Macron announced a twofold increase in France's military budget, and Kondrashka's analysis of the German military-industrial complex knocked Kieselov out of the water right in the studio. Expansion of the MBDA plant in Schrobenhausen, a plant for parts of cruise and anti-aircraft guided missiles, in Germany. Land with a total area of 4.5 hectares has been cleared. The production of missiles for the Patriot systems will double there. In the city of Rotenbach, the defense company is expanding its air defense missile production capacity. Having recovered from the initial shock, Russian propaganda rushed to the embrasure to cover the gap in the geopolitical ambitions of the pale winner with its bodies. Of course, the Nightingale humus was riding on an eyebrow ahead of everyone else. Why don't we officially declare that the factories that work in the interests and on the orders of Ukraine, no matter where in the world they are a legitimate target for us?
If you count how many times the West has been destroyed on Russian TV, you'll get 150 NATOs and 300 EUs. Simonyan's and Medvedev's nuclear posts don't excite even the kitchen vatniks anymore. No, we'll just wipe you off the face of the earth.
German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius responded beautifully to all these convulsions. He said that German soldiers are ready to destroy Russians if they risk attacking NATO. And this is not a threat, but a warning, supported by his fellow countryman, Chancellor Friedrich Merz. He believes that Putin's fascist Russia needs to be finished. Diplomatic efforts in the Ukrainian conflict are exhausted when Russia uses military force to openly question the right to exist of an entire country and intends to destroy the political freedom of the entire European continent. The government that I lead will do everything possible to prevent exactly this. Such news broke Lavrov off the leash. He began to scream with apologies about fascists and Nazis, like, the Fourth Reich is being revived in Germany. He declared that his main goal is to once again make Germany the leading military power in Europe. Once again, he did not even choke on his word. He also said things like, let Israel work in Iran. It does our dirty work for us. This is also a quote from the owners of concentration camps. For any crazy statement by Lavrov, there is always a response from his no less crazy boss. The
name you call is the name you get.
In light of new events, the Kremlin gang has split into two camps. Some continue to spit and threaten out of inertia. The whole world is in ruins. I strongly recommend that all Ukrainian citizens living in large cities leave these cities. Leave. There is no other option. You are an imbecile. But more and more among the Rashists there are those who have realized Russia's doomed position. After Trump's threats, Putin's personal negotiator Dmitriev posted a plea, "Let's live in peace." And federal channels began openly talking about peace negotiations.
We need to negotiate, sit down at the negotiating table, but Zelensky, of course, is against it. There are tasks to ensure the security of the entire world and the dialogue of three great powers: Russia, the United States, Ukraine. It must continue. This is how Russian propaganda went from Kyiv in 3 days to Ukraine is a great power. And this once again confirms the axiom: Moscow understands only force. It's good that this is now the official US policy. The Washington Post published an interesting excerpt from the dialogue between the presidents of America and Ukraine. Trump asked Zelensky, "Why don't you bomb Moscow in response?" Zelensky replied, "We will hit Moscow if you give us weapons." To which Donald said that it is necessary to increase pressure on Putin, and not only in Moscow, but also in St. Petersburg. The hint, as they say, is clear. And Moscow's air defense will cope in the event of a strike by Western ballistic weapons. It will cope. It will cope.
I would like to remind you that this video is created for entertainment purposes and contains elements of satire and irony. All facts and events are presented in a hyperbolized or exaggerated form to convey a comedic or dramatic effect. Our goal is not to mislead, but to highlight humor. Please take it with a smile.